Welcome to Kaumudy Global. People across the world saw brave Iranians conducting protests against hijab laws for the past 2 months. Reports say it is unending until they get justice for Mahsa Amini's death. The protest has entered 8th week. Literally speaking, the protests in Iran sparked by the September 16 death of a 22-year-old woman, Mahsa Amini, after her detention by the country's morality police, have grown into one of the largest sustained challenges to the nation's theocracy since the chaotic months after its 1979 Islamic Revolution. The latest development of unrest protest that is taking place in Iran is coming out. Thousands of Iranians have protested in the nation's southeast to mark a September crackdown by security forces known as Bloody Friday. Sune Engel Rasmussen, writing in the Wall Street Journal, said that despite mass arrests and violence, Iranian authorities have failed to suppress the 2-month-long protest movement that started after the death of a Kurdish woman. She had been detained by morality police for allegedly flouting the Islamic Republic's strict dress code imposed on women. More than 82 people died on Friday, September 30, as security forces cracked down on demonstrations in Sistan Baluchistan, rights groups say. The province is one of the largest and poorest in Iran and is home to an ethnic Sunni Muslim minority. In recent days, hundreds of people have gathered in the provincial capital of Sahedam to mark 40 days, an important period in Islamic mourning since the incident, which protesters have called as Bloody Friday. In one of the most serious challenges to the clerical establishment in decades, protesters gathered in front of Sahedam's main mosque, chanting "Death to Kaumudy," the country's supreme leader, and "Death to Basiji," a parliamentary militia tasked with protecting the Islamic Republic against domestic dissent, according to social media footage verified by Storyful, owned by News Corporation. Some protesters were chanting, "I will kill whoever killed my brother." Other videos featured the sound of gunfire that activists attributed to security forces opening fire on protesters. At least 16 were killed last week in Kash, another city in Sistan Baluchistan, according to Iran Human Rights, a watchdog based in Oslo, reported. More than 300 people, including around 40 minors, have been killed across the country since the protest that erupted in September. The failure to suppress protesters across the country is a sign that the movement remains a stark challenge to the Iranian leadership as a whole. Initially centered around demands to abolish the mandatory Islamic veil, which is hijab, the movement morphed into calls to overthrow the Islamic leadership that is existing in Iran. Protesters gather almost daily in some parts of the country, such as the western Kurdistan province where Amini was from. Elsewhere, such as in the capital, Tehran, rallies are routinely held in a couple of times a week, often in or around universities. In the past week, 227 of the 290 lawmakers in Iran's parliament called on the country's judiciary to issue and carry out the death penalty for protesters. Iranian Chief Justice Ghulam Hussein Mohseni Ijei asked judges to intensify and speed up sentences for hundreds of arrested protesters. Authorities have sought to intimidate Iranians from participating in rallies by placing plainclothes police in the crowds to seize and arrest the protesters. One 32-year-old protester in Tehran said on Friday she had been arrested twice by security forces in civilian clothing who pulled her out of a crowd. The first time she was held and interrogated for 10 hours while police officers kicked her face and body. She was released when they did not find any compromising material on her phone. The second time she was released more quickly. She said because the prisons were full, reported the Wall Street Journal. The protests happening in Sistan Baluchistan have also consisted almost exclusively of men compared with other parts of Iran where women have been at the forefront. Women's rights activists in the province where the protests every Friday have emanated from mosques have objected on social media to the absence of women in the rallies. Anyhow, Iran, especially Iranian women, are in forefront to get the real justice they have the right to enjoy. Many women chopped their hair as a mark of protest from day one of Mahsa's justice protest. To some, the practice evokes rituals described in ancient Persian poetry and literature in which women cut their hair in mourning or protest. Besides, it is also a demonstration of power that shows that women cannot be controlled by the hair on their head. Scholars following the current protest in Iran also observe the movement is distinct because it has unified Iranians across socio-economic lines, geographic regions, ethnicity and gender under the banner of women's rights and the need for systematic governmental change. Let us see whether these protests will be able to topple the existing Iran regime. I am Shreya signing off. If you like the video, please subscribe our channel and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. If you want to send us feedback or news, please send it on kaumudyglobal@gmail.com.